It feels like one giant oxymoron filming Thru-Hike. The idea of hiking several hundred miles of trail, while along the way retracing my steps to grab the camera, or heading off trail briefly to get a cool new angle just doesn't quite make sense. I cut down on weight by having my toothbrush, not carrying much first aid gear, carrying less water, and only packing one extra change of clothes, just to add in 5 pounds of weight from cameras, lenses, battery banks, cords, chargers, SD cards, and many accessories. I always say everyone should have one type of luxury out on trail to keep you going. Some people pack out fresh food and drinks, some pack camp chairs, while others pack a whole coffee making system. As for me, I pack camera gear. Filming and creating keeps me going from point A to point B. My hope is that people who want to watch will watch, and those who don't won't. I can only hope to entertain, teach, and maybe inspire people with completely different backgrounds. This video is my way of showing the behind the scenes clips and my thoughts along the journey. There were a lot of stories to tell from the long trail that didn't quite make it into the main video series. Some were lessons from experienced hikers, some genuine interactions, and some just funny or well-timed comments that stuck with me. The first of which occurred at Goddard Shelter. Came into camp well after 6 p.m., right before a wave of rain came through. I quickly joined an older man in the shelter, set up my spot, got water from the spring, and cooked dinner. The guy was telling me of his AT adventures and told a story coming across a homeless and broke AT hiker who didn't have much food or intact in-shape gear. The man told me how he thought to himself, I'll give him a goddamn bug net, as the black flies and skeeters were getting difficult to handle down at the lower elevations in the valleys and near the beaver ponds. Funny delivery of his dry, honest thoughts, yet his humble and positive intentions stood out to me. Another notable encounter was at Stowe Spring Shelter. An AT hiker who was huddled under a bunch of gear in the shelter, hiding from the ferocious black flies, while a lady was outside fumbling through a packet of maps and trail notes. She was trying to find information for getting into town, so I told her there were a couple of numbers of trail angels listed on the Far Out app. She told me she only has a flip phone and doesn't like texting. I found the comment in Far Out and gave her a couple of options for places and people to call. It was wrong for me to assume that everyone out on trail is using Far Out. Some people are doing what they love without necessarily being able to afford good gear. Some people have heavy boots that are falling apart, old packs duct taped together, and definitely not the technological luxuries of smartphones and Garmin inReaches. Definitely a lesson to be thankful for what you got. One theme I found to be quite strong and consistent on the long trail was meeting people from Vermont who had lived there for a very long time. A younger dude from Manchester who gave me a ride back to the trail said he came to the US and Vermont and hasn't left. Bill from Waitsfield, a wonderful trail angel, gave me a lift into Irisville or Waitsfield, and told me the story of his family living in the valley for more than 200 years. Ira, who gave me a ride into Stowe and an end-of-journey shelter to Montpelier, explained how his family has several generations in Vermont. A man from Guyana said once you come here, you'll never leave. And finally, Zeke, the motel owner from India, has no intentions of leaving Williamstown, Massachusetts at the Vermont border. I too got a big taste of Vermont and spent enough time to also find it difficult to leave. There's no denying it, I also had my fair share of weird interactions out there. One guy in Rutland was working day to day to get a bottle of tequila before heading back out on trail. One Sobo hiker was asking what kind of medicines I had in a very odd way. Some people are afraid of the wildlife, but sometimes it's the people to watch out for the most. That being said, the majority of fellow thru-hikers, day hikers, caretakers, trail angels, and town people were lovely and very helpful. One of my favorite fun little interactions was with a kid in Stowe, Vermont. He was probably around 10 years old and saw me outside the town library wearing my backpack and asked what I was doing. I told him I was hiking the long trail, the entire state from south to the northern Canada border. He then asked me, yeah, but where's your car? You can't just drive around? I told him I was living out of my backpack and he seemed pretty dumbfounded with the idea. Made me second guess everything for at least a moment. The long trail was an experience of a lifetime and a journey I'll never forget. I hope everyone gets to admire the Green Mountains up close and personal someday.